Jones just a point behind, and then Adam and Hill tied on 15 with Lund. And 11th is Richard Steadman ahead of Thompson. Tom Kahn is there on a mere 6 points after fighting his way through to 10th place in the second race. Pennington, Newman, Taylor, Smith, Lewis and Neary. The starting grid for the final race of the weekend, the third race of the weekend for the TriStar R&G Triple Challenge. Tom Kahn on pole, Sam Cox second, Phil Atkinson third. Second row, headed by first race winner Freddie Pett from Scott Pitchers and Richard Steadman. The third row has Christer Bohm, Andrew Lund and Sam Middlemass. And the fourth row, Oliver Hill, Scott Adam and Josh Wood. So Tom Kahn, number 17 from Rossendale on the TC Racing Triumph, is on the front row of the grid. Alongside him is number 31 Sam Cox, the Londoner, on the Sam Cox Racing Triumph. And of course, the veteran nearly man of Triumph Triple Challenge Racing, Phil Atkinson, the South African lad on the Techlands Racing Triumph, is on the third spot on the front row of the grid. There is Tom Kahn. That was an uncharacteristic mistake from him in the first race. Let's see what he can do now. He really could do with getting a race. He looked like the class act until he fell. Now he's got to find himself a race win from pole position. So Kahn looking for a bright start here in the third and final race of the weekend for the Triumph Triples. Gets away elbow to elbow, but not quite fast enough, because Phil Atkinson, always a fast starter, charges through and grabs the advantage on that distinctive white number 3. So as they keel into Druids, the leader is Phil Atkinson, who's so often been the Neely man in this championship, but never quite actually made it to the front.
Yeah, Tom Kahn made a really good start into second from pole position, but he's getting beaten up a little bit now. I think that could be... Is that Freddie Pett going through into second?
It might well be, because he's been pretty quick all weekend. The 30-year-old Philip Terence Atkinson leads the way, and Tom Kahn is already back to 4th place, so yeah, perhaps he was quickest when it was damp, and he's just not quite found the pace in the dry. As Phil Atkinson crosses the line, first lap of 12, he leads the way. Second place, spot on James Whittam, is Freddie Pett ahead of Sam Cox, Tom Kahn, and then Bohm in 5th, Jones 6th.
And in actual fact, Jack, you're dead right. When I look at the pole time of Tom Kahn, it is 55.9, and that is some 6 seconds outside what they're capable of doing. So, yeah, you're dead right. He got that pole position by virtue of the fact it was damp in race 2.
So as Atkinson leads the way, Pett and Cox. I think Cox has got the better of Pett, might have moved through into second place. So Sam Cox, number 31, looking quite strong now. Sam Cox, number 31 from London, Sam Cox Racing Triumph, closing very, very rapidly now on Phil Atkinson. So Cox, you always suspect someone who's based in London, as he's just proving right now, is very fond of Brands Hatch, and it's probably the most familiar circuit to him, and Sam Cox has surged straight through to the front.
Yeah, I mean, when you get to this level of racing, that doesn't generally make a lot of difference, you know. But in actual fact, if you're from London, it is your nearest circuit. There is a lot of action here, club racing, track days, etc. So he possibly has a lot more laps around here than most other people.
He was 6th in the Triumph Triple Challenge Cup last season, Sam Cox. And he did score quite a fair few points and was just on the fringe of the top 10 in the overall Triumph Triple Challenge. But neither of those results would indicate he's going to come here and plunder an instant win.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Scott Pitchers missed the pit lane closing time. There on bike number 111, the 20-year-old from Lower Compton on the Team SP racing bike is charging through the pack and is now up to 9th place. Yeah. So Scott Pitchers having a real run.
Hang on. There's somebody off there. Faller.
It's number 131, Hill, who's gone down. That's yeah, 131 Oliver Hill from Reading on the Hills Angels Fast Line Superbikes Triumph. He's thrown it into the dust and the gravel.
Yeah, so not a lot of damage there.
So at the front, Cox,
fixed.
Atkinson, Pett, Jones, Bohm, Tom Kahn in 6th, Richard Steadman 7th.
Yeah, Scott Pitches should have started from the second row, the middle of the second row, but you have a set amount of time to get out onto the track and get assembled on the grid. When the pit lane closes, you can't go out. They won't let you, even if there's time to get you round. You miss your slot, you have to start from the pit lane, and that means starting when the last man has gone off the grid. So yeah, Pitcher's leaving himself a lot of hard work there.
We're on the 5th lap of 12 here, and the gap's closing down at the front now. Cox, Atkinson, Pett, and I think in fact Atkinson's lost that second place. Freddie Pett's on the move on bike number 66.
Yep, number 912, that's Murray Hambro, the double amputee, the ex-soldier. He's into the pits, and he's actually been off already this weekend. I don't know what quite the trouble is now for Murray, but yeah, certainly the bravest man on the grid, but he's in the pit lane now.
So Freddie Pett beginning to pressure Sam Cox at the front. Pett, number 66, is of course long-standing rider in this championship, riding the M40 Dales Racing Triumph. He's a very tall lad, Freddie Pett.
King's Lynn.
Incidentally, the lad in, James, the lad in 5th place, Christer Bohm, is a 32-year-old Swede who was the Swedish rookie 600 champion back in 2009, and then the Swedish 600 champ in 2011. So
yeah,
he's running 5th ahead of Tom Kahn.
Yeah, that's 17, Tom Kahn, in familiar for him colours. It suits, you know, a lot of these guys buying their own equipment and leathers and helmets and that, so it actually suits. If they've got a serviceable set of leathers from one season, it makes sense that you can change a few sponsors and badges wise and run the same colours on your bike for the following year. Saves you spending a couple of grand on leathers.
Cox leads the way across the line. Pett 2nd, Atkinson 3rd.
It's Pitchers who's making moves now. There he is up the inside. That's Scott Pitchers starting from pit lane. He's doing well, that lad.
6th in the Triumph Triple Challenge and Cup Championship, remember, not the overall championship. So really, this is quite a revelation, this ride from Scott Pitchers. And a tight line as Tom Kahn swings right around Druids. Right behind them, Christer Bohm, number 91, has lost out to both Kahn and Scott Pitchers in the last half lap. Yeah, well, Pitchers is definitely going to end up, that's a man in shot now, he's definitely going to get the better of Tom Kahn, I think, the way he's closed up on him. He's passed about 3 people per lap since the start of the race, because he, as I said before, he had to start from pit lane, and that means starting absolutely clap last when the last man has gone past the end of pit lane. So, yeah, he's going to have trouble going forward from there, though, I've got to say. He's got some 5 seconds then, once he gets past Kahn, back up to the rear end of Jones. On to the 8th lap of 12. Tom Kahn, number 17, from Haslingden, Rossendale in Lancashire. He's a motorcycle mechanic, 20 years old now, Tom Kahn, when he was a lad with brace, a kind of 17-year-old with teeth braces when he first ever introduced himself to us. Well, they worked well, the braces, because he has got a god full of teeth, I'll tell you. Cox, Pett, Atkinson running at the front, very, very evenly matched, but Cox just looking as if he's got a faint edge on bike number 31, and despite all the efforts of Freddie Pett, he's not quite able to close the gap. And all these bikes identical, they're all 675cc Triumph Daytonas. Obviously 3-cylinder, as the name of the championship would suggest, going straight across the frame, about 120 brake horsepower, a really nice bike to ride. I've got to say they're beautiful as a road by these things. Oh, and back market getting kind of causing a bit of carnage there between the leader Cox and second place man Pett. Nobody gained much advantage from that because they both got mucked around a little bit. Freddie Pett, number 66, he's a parts and service manager at C&A Superbikes Limited, comes from King's Lynn, 22 years old now, challenging Sam Cox hard, but not quite able to get on terms. But of course, he already leads the championship with 1st and 2nd places in the first 2 rounds, so he doesn't really need to do anything too silly as he completes the 9th lap. That's 3/4 race distance. Yeah, I don't think anybody will explain that to Freddie Pett. I think he'll be after the win anyway. Number 37 running in 4th place is Jesse James Jones, an extravagant name for the lad on the team Ice Watch by T3 Racing Triumph. All these, of course, are triples, 675 triples. But this battle for the lead heating up once again as Pett tries to threaten Cox. Cox is fast in some places, James. He's got some good kind of corner entry speed that sweeps him away a bit.
He's actually a bit better on the faster stuff, is Sam Cox. And it seems to be that Freddie Pett can close up on the kind of after Paddock Hill, up Hillwood Hill and in towards Druids, where Pett seems to be a little bit stronger. He's going to have to be stronger than this to get the better of Cox, I feel.
Yeah, Cox looking very, very comfortable. Some more back marker, another back marker ahead, just to kind of add a little bit of spice to proceedings as they go round Druids, drop down the short, sharp hill to Graham Hill Bend. All these have got, I'm not sure what you'd get if you counted up the number of Formula One World Championships that are in evidence around this track, but Graham Hill Bend going now into Surtees, swinging right round McLaren's and then Clearways and onto the Clark Curve.
Yeah, Freddie Pett just getting the worst of that back marker there. I mean, leaving his way under eventually, but certainly Cox pulled about half a second in that move.
That did just come at the wrong moment, didn't it? And Sam Cox now will go on to the last lap. Beg your pardon. Yes, onto his final lap, looking really, really confident. That last lap, 48.6, was his fastest lap of his race. Pett set the fastest lap, 48.57. The actual lap record set last year, 90.3 miles an hour by Dan Hellier, 48.151. Well, that's not going to interest these boys because at the moment it's looking good for Sam Cox. Has he got a bit of backing from Fro Systems? I think he has, judging by the lettering on the side of his motorcycle. And Sam Cox is going to take victory here, and that could be a first for this lad. I don't think he's got anywhere near a win before.
I think you're dead right.
So Sam Cox, whose best result previously has been several fifth places last year, finally breaks his duck, takes victory in the Triumph Triple Challenge ahead of Freddie Pett. Phil Atkinson, veteran bridesmaid, makes third place ahead of Jesse James Jones, and then Scott Pitchers. Does he get it across the line? Yes, he grabs fifth place from Tom Kahn as they cross the line, with Krista Bohm in seventh place. Sam Middlemass finishes eighth ahead of Richard Stedman. And rounding out the top 10 is number 50, Sam Thompson, the Cup rider, the leading Cup rider. Sam Thompson comes across the line in 10th place. So Thompson, Lund and Lewis are top three in the Cup, but it's this man, Sam Cox, who's obviously chuffed with that, because he really hasn't come anywhere near a win before now. As I said, he had fifth places last year at Thruxton, at Brands Hatch GP, a double fifth place at Silverstone, but never came anywhere near a rostrum or a race win.
Number 37, Jones, he's well happy with that, with his fourth place.
Well, that's what you like to see, you know, you're someone who's enjoyed his race and done well.
Yeah.
Tom Kahn will be a bit disappointed. I would expect him to improve as he gets to grips with the Triumph. He, of course, won the Triumph Young Guns last year, but mainly he was railing round on a 125 GP bike, which is a bit different from this, James.
Yeah, 125cc two-stroke as opposed to 675cc four-stroke.
So a delighted Sam Cox then takes the win here for on his Triumph. Well, yeah, they're all on Triumphs, okay, in the Triumph Triple Challenge. Freddie Pett finishes second. Phil Atkinson, South Africa, finishes third. And then in the next man up, number 37, Jesse James Jones from Basildon, followed by Scott Pitchers in fifth place. Great ride from him as he had to start from pit lane. Tom Kahn just pipped for that fifth place, finishes sixth ahead of Krista Bohm, the Swede, Sam Middlemass, Richard Stedman, and the leader of the Cup boys from Bournemouth, the Thompson Racing Machine of Sam Thompson. Behind them